This time on Harpam's Restorations, we take the mast apart, among other things. And it's a greasy job. So stick around and see what happens. Okay, I started dismantling the hoist so I can clean it up and get it all taken care of. And these are the pieces I've taken off so far. Those are the two bottom plates that the forks that have been sitting over there for 4 years hang off of. There's a metal plate. I'll probably fire up the hot tank and drop those in there, clean those up. Of course, I take the wheels off of those first. Don't really want to go surfing around in there. And then I still have the steering gear soaking in here. And then I've also put all the chains in there to try to soak those to get the grease off. Here's the conundrum I ran into on the hoist. So, laid it down like this and was going to take the inner frame out from the outer frame and ran into a problem. You get up so high and there's stops there, obviously, to keep that from going on up and falling out, which I didn't realize. And I can't, those stops are connected to this brace that goes across there, and I can't get to the bolts on the inside to get them loose until I get that inner frame out. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to swing this around a little bit, and then take it on back. I use my hydraulic ram there to get it up to there. What I think I'm going to do is I'll probably just put not a come along, but a big strap on, ratcheting strap on there and bring it back in, and then I'm going to have to take them out the back. But before I do that, I've got to take this brace out and see if I can, and then probably this bracket out here and get the, as you can see, the hydraulic fluids spilled all over there, get the main hydraulic cylinder out of there. So I'll get set up and do that. Of course, lucky me, we're at like January 17th, 18th right now, and it's about 7 degrees outside. So hopefully you can hear me over the propane heater there. It's probably not doing me any good, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. But I'll get set up and get that hydraulic cylinder out of there and then try to move that back. My main goal today, since it is so cold, is just to finish getting this disassembled, get it out of the way here so I can get vehicles in and out of the building here. So I'll set you up on a tripod and we'll try to get that accomplished today. Okay, we got it all done, or disassembled, at least the majority of it. We've got the outside posts here. I got the cylinder down there, and I've got all the cross braces and other miscellaneous parts there. So, like I said, I think on some of those things, yeah, fire up the old hot tank and hot tank them. It'll take that yellow paint off, and then I just have to throw them in the blasting cabinet and finish them up. And of course, I've got to take that apart and probably replace the piston boot. And there is a seal up here. And I mean, it's not difficult. Now, the one thing, and I'll be the first to admit, this probably wasn't the best way to take this apart. If I had to do it over again, we've got a big hoist that we've been in the process of building for several years. I probably would have just hooked up to that hoist and pulled it out, pulled the inner one out. These are the stops that I had to take out to get it out, right there. And they just had two bolts holding it on to the outside of this, right up in here. Yeah, I believe right up in here. So I backed it all the way down, and then I had to bring it back all the way, take these out and bring it up and take it off out of the top. So I guess if I ever take one of these apart again, I may know what to do. Of course, I'll probably forget it. So anyway, I got to figure out how I'm going to clean these, since it's middle of January, almost into January, and we finally got winter here in central Nebraska. So I can't just drag them outside and pressure wash them. I may have to just degrease them some way, and then I'm going to use, I got one of those Eastwood drum sander thingies, and I'll use that to take most of the paint off of it. So we'll keep going on it.